Welcome to the Franchise Minute. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. Today, we are going to have on the Franchise Minute as our special guest, Rick Mayo, the founder and CEO of Alloy Personal Training. Rick, welcome to the Franchise Minute.
Anna, I am so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, the pleasure's mine. You've got a very interesting story, and I can't wait for you to share it with the audience. So start us off and tell us a little bit about your background, Rick.
I opened my original facility, which I'm still sitting in today. So now it's our corporate
Wow.
office, which sounds crazy, in 1992. I was a junior in college and just sort of figuring out a way to pay my way through school and thought it would be a really novel idea to put four walls and a customer experience around this, what was at that time a relatively new service, which was personal training.
Right.
Um, that evolved, and lo and behold, it turned into a real career. It turns out you can wear sweatpants to work every day. Turns out that can happen, thankfully. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look at you and your workout wear, you get it. And then eventually, we tweaked our model a bit. We learned how to train more than one person at one time for the economies of scale and to be able to bring the price threshold down. And then it put me on the radar because it was a unique model for speaking and then consulting. And then we launched what we called licensing, which could be confusing in the world of franchising. But imagine just a white labeled version of what we do. And we put that in 2,500 door fronts from India to Dubai.
2,500. That
Yes.
didn't overnight, did it?
It did not. And that was basically franchise light, an upfront fee for a little bit of training, and then we would power whatever it is that we were building for you. And that put me on the board for some of the largest fitness franchises, if not overall franchises in the world. So,
right.
Nice peek under the covers at franchising. So we've been in business for 32 years. We've been at it a really long time, but that's a brief history of starting out as a side hustle, and it turned out to be a lifelong career.
Well, you're being a bit modest. I'm going to name drop for you. The boards that you were on were Gold's Gym and Anytime Fitness. So that speaks to your credibility and expertise in the field of fitness. And there's also something else you're haven't revealed yet to the audience. So tell us about your music industry experience. I told my son about it last night, and he was a little impressed.
Right. Well, it's just a generational thing. Like I have the same response. So essentially, Anna, what you're referring to is early on, I was a trainer for Madonna. So I went on tour with her. And then, we were in Atlanta, which is a sort of a hotbed for R&B music. So we had Usher and like some old people that I won't even name because it really aged me, but music producers like Babyface and L.A. Reid and all these people that if you're into R&B music, and certainly if you're my age, you would remember them. Right. I did think it was funny that your son said, I've heard of Usher and Madonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually my audience if I'm speaking at a fitness conference. It's a bunch of young folks, and they're like, okay, really cool. I think I know who she is. That type of thing. But that was personal training at the time. And my story around the Madonna was the trainer that she hired, Anna, after me. So like the very next trainer that she had after me was the one that she had a baby with. So just saying, could have been me. If I didn't have my strong professional boundaries, I could have had a baby with Madonna. Probably wouldn't be on this call because I would have received copious amounts of child support, and I could have been a kept man. But here we are. I think I made the right choice. I really do.
I'm sure your wife thinks you made the right choice.
Yeah, and she hates the story, but she understands.
It's part of your story. I mean, it is. It really is.
That's right.
Okay, so Rick, now that you've told us about your celebrity background and connections, how did you make the pivot to founding a fitness franchise?
Yeah, I think, just based on what we've already talked about, our history, we didn't approach it by accident and without a lot of trial and error and a really big peek under the covers, if you will, at what franchising looks like. Sitting on those boards was sort of a cheat code for us. And so eventually we just sort of looked at each other and said, listen, instead of powering everyone else's franchise, let's open our own. And in between the some of the boards that you mentioned, Anna, we had people like us. And when I say like us, I mean a boutique fitness model coming to us saying, can you power our sales system, or can you write our workouts, or can we
Mm-hmm.
use your onboarding process? And it was like, well, they're just like us. It's different than the other models you named, like a general service gym.
Right.
These were boutique fitness. And we thought, you know what, if we're going to power boutique fitness, let's just do our own. And we had a lot of experience. And so, yeah, it didn't come quickly, but we gave it a lot of thought. Obviously, there's a huge opportunity cost to leave a business that has 2,500 door fronts, right, worldwide, and pivot to something that we're going to be seen regardless of our experience as an emerging franchise. And so it's sort of like, hey, back to the bottom of the ladder. We're going to have to prove our wares and climb our way back up. So we didn't do it without a lot of thought, but we, at the time we thought it was the right move, and at least thus far it's really played out that way. So we're lucky.
Well, you really do have something unique and special, and kind of just my way of summarizing your history is it was a process over 30 years. I mean, it's not like you're the new kid on the block and you put a spreadsheet together and the numbers look good and went, hey, let's do this. Some franchises are that way.
Yes.
But
yes.
yours is backed, by you. And I think when I have someone look at Alloy or any emerging franchise, I say you need to look at who's behind the franchise, the leadership, the executive team, and their experience in franchising. And so you check all those boxes and get stars by your name. So
thank you. Yeah. No, we feel like it. I mean, look, I think one of our differentiators is our experience. And
absolutely.
while we may be new to franchising, there's just certain guardrails and legalities and things around franchising, but there's plenty of people to help you navigate that. What's more important is we're really good at making fitness clubs be operationally successful. And that's what I would want to hear if I was an investor, looking to invest in a franchise opportunity. It's like, can this team help me be successful in my local market, right? And that we can do, because that we've been doing in mass for the last, at least 17 years of our careers before we went to franchising.
Well, Rick, that's a good lead into a huge myth that I think a lot of people have about boutique fitness. So let me just share a little bit about the history. So I think we've all experienced, the big box gyms like the Y and things like that. You drive across town and it's everything under one roof. It's a huge footprint and that sort of thing. So it's operationally, it's expensive to operate and all the employees and all that sort of stuff. So now, for years before COVID, I think it was 7 years in a row, the growth in franchising was in fitness, health, and wellness and beauty. I mean, that has just been after fast food. I mean, this is America. So
sure.
After that, that's been like the engine of the growth in franchising. And there are a lot of boutique fitness concepts. But I think and I know you'll agree with me here, people just assume that the market's oversaturated, and it is not. The numbers don't support that. The demographic numbers don't support that, and especially the demographic that you go after with your Alloy Fitness, with your Alloy personal training brand. So talk to us a little bit about who are your customers?
Yeah, so we, personal training by default is a bit more expensive, right? I think when you hear the term personal training, most people know what that is these days. And so there are pricing and service anchors that go along with that. So it's a good value to the right customer, but still a little bit more expensive. And by default, that pushes us into an age category that's really underserved in the fitness market, which, we loosely say 45 to 65 is our target clientele. Obviously, if someone has means, we can certainly go younger. If someone's older than that, we have plenty of those as well. But really, our sweet spot is in that sort of 45 to 65 range. And quite honestly, there's really two reasons. One is they've typically amassed enough financial wherewithal to be able to afford an expensive service. And they're just looking for something more specific, right? They're normally, if you've lived to be 50 years old or so, you're going to have a few chinks in your armor or a few dings, right?
Right.
You're going to have an end, like a shoulder or a back or a knee. And it's like, if you just go to the class-based concepts, it's, typically come try a free class. If you survive it, great. If not, we're not for you. Whereas with us, it's like, okay, you might be really fit. It might be like you do all these activities outside and you play pickleball and you do all these things. It's like, but you just have little aches and pains. And so we can help people work around those things. So because of that and the fact that it's a higher price threshold, that's our segment that we target. And they are drastically underserved in the fitness space. By the way, that's 70% of the nation's disposable income lives in this age bracket and up.
That's right.
So it's like, if you're going to target a certain market for a business, especially an experiential service-based business, I can't imagine why you would go anywhere else other than this particular market. And they have all the money.
I agree. And I fit that demographic. And I'm going to use me just as an example. And I mean, I probably should be thinner than I am after I explain this, but I really do like carbs, and they're winning the battle of the bulge.
That's right.
I belong to a yoga studio. I belong currently to just one pickleball court association. I used to belong to two. And at the same time, I do belong to a fitness center where I have personal training that I have to pay additional for and spin classes. Now that's my lifestyle. Okay. I'm a empty nester now and I'm getting older and I do have chinks, frozen shoulder, whip. I mean, everybody's got them. Like you said, by the time you hit 50, you've got a list.
That's
and
right.
Personal trainer does have to work around that, but that's just my lifestyle. Tuesday, Thursday, I do personal training. Monday, Wednesday, spin classes. And then yoga gets in there one day a week and pickleball is Sunday. I mean, I don't think I'm unusual. I really don't.
You're not. For our customer avatar, that's very usual. You might find it interesting to hear that 85-ish%, give or take, of our current member base in our franchises have memberships at other health and wellness related concepts. Because again, you have the financial wherewithal. To put everything under one roof is not really ideal because you want to cherry pick the best in each category. So for us, we are the best at personal training, which means getting strength training to get you strong and increase your longevity and help your posture, work around your injuries and all those things. If you want then to go and spin or do yoga or whatever, that's great. And we'll help you manage which of those things would be best for you based on your goals and what you see with your injuries. So we kind of sit in that advisor role in the center of that wheel. And there's all these spokes for like nutrition and supplementation and mobility. And we can kind of help you manage all that. But I mean, the largest percentage of our customers have memberships and do other things. So with an abundance mindset, it's like, we just have to be the best at our thing. Right. If you do that, there's plenty of room for a huge, there's a big ocean that we're fishing in right now, Anna, with this particular
massive
market. It's you, essentially. You just described yourself, which would be our ideal customer client.
Right. And the numbers of that demographic are massive, absolutely massive. We've all heard of the graying of America and things like that. So before we run out of time, Rick, I do want to get this one thing in. So a lot of just about every single franchise candidate asks me for something that's recession resistant. Well, I don't care who's sitting in the White House or what the interest rate is. I'm going to go play pickleball. Okay.
That's right.
I'm going to go work out. I am going to go to my spin class. That is not going to, I care about those things, but I'm not going to change my life or my lifestyle because of that. And with this being a massive demographic group and the most wealthy demographic group, 11,000 people a day turn 65 in America. This is just like see dollar signs, So anyway, I guess you're going to agree with that.
I am. Listen, that you could argue that there's a lot of social things that could be done, and that's way beyond my pay grade and whatnot. But I will tell you that even if the gap grows a bit, I would rather be servicing the upper end of the population. They are not as affected by price of gallon of gas, price of
Right.
gallon of milk, as an example.
Right.
And they also are smarter. They're typically smarter than the average bear, so they understand bull and bear markets, and things don't last
Right.
forever. And they have enough financial wherewithal to sort of weather that. And to your point, they're not going to give up their lifestyle, right, for a bit of a downturn in the economy. So it's a good market to target during a recession.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, Rick, we are out of time. That was a fast 15 minutes. But if anybody wants to learn more about Alloy personal training, what do you recommend they do?
Let me see. What would I do? I would reach out to Anna Wilds and say, listen, I'm looking at a franchise. I heard this great podcast about Alloy. Tell me more, and let you lead me through that process. That's just me, but that's what I would do.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Rick. I appreciate you being here so much, audience. This is Rick Mayo, the founder and CEO of Alloy Personal Training. Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure to have you here, Rick. And audience, I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist, and come back next week. We're going to have another founder of a franchise. I'm not going to give it away. You'll have to come back next Wednesday at 11:30 Eastern to hear about that. Take care. So long.
Cheers.